Hi there, guys. This is Danny Grimes coming to you live from Fort Myers, Naples area. Welcome to Scripts and Dialogues in a C19 market. It'd be awesome when we take off the C19 market and we'll just be working on scripts and dialogues. And I appreciate you guys that are on here on the live call, and I welcome those that will be watching via Facebook Live. And eventually this thing will be posted on YouTube, and I trust you'll get some value out of it. I always start kind of the same way, is that typically these classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays. However, because of Bold for the next couple of weeks, I think there's 2 to 3 more weeks counting today. If you look behind me, you see Wednesday from 1 to 2 Eastern time, today, next week, and the following week, and then you'll get plenty of notice before you go back to the normal Tuesday, Thursday schedule. At any time, if you wanted to send me an email with a situation, a text, or a situation you're going through, or you'd like to see role played, you can do that. Just go to Coach Danny Grimes at Gmail, Coach Danny Grimes at Gmail. And also you can text me at 239-851-4600. Let me know who you are, because I don't have a lot of you guys in my phone yet. So that's the kind of availability I want. And your input is very valuable, because when you have a question that comes up, most likely other people will as well. If you haven't already, go to Danny Grimes, Danny Delivers, YouTube channel, and you can subscribe. All my past classes are there, and a lot of good stuff. And feel free to subscribe to that. We're building the following. We're almost up to 200 and on our way to 1,000. So that'll be happening shortly, particularly based on a couple things we've done and we'll start doing to promote the YouTube channel. If you had to put it into a nutshell, looking at the screen behind me, I find this a little bit easier sometimes than sharing screen, is that everything that we work on here, even when I give you the opportunity to go ahead and practice what you're learning, we always want to use question-based, listening enhanced conversational scripts. There's more than one script. We had role play today. We had some new folks on there that had scripts from other vendors and coaches, and I liked hearing those. There's more than one way to do it. I just find my style works the best if you stay into questions. And even my wife and I, Kristen Cole, when we go around and teach this class, and we're going to be offering it online here shortly, we like to see how far we can go into a presentation without making any statements. Everything's question-based. So that's what it's all about, and we follow a very simple formula. And we'll do it today. If you look up here, you'll see that the steps in handling any kind of a situation, this will work with your family, your kids, everything is that you acknowledge, then you isolate, then you answer, and then close. Don't forget the close. And of course, you notice the asterisk, it's kind of hard to read. The asterisk is all using questions. So I had something come up, and you guys, if you have something that you've had this past week and you want to add it to the chat, that would be awesome. We can role play a situation. I love it when people tell me what they're going through, and we actually do a role play. So what came up in the Bold class yesterday, we had a couple of great scripters on there, Cody Gibson, Michael Ann Barley. They were actually doing some script practice. And so one of the objections that they role played, I think is very timely for this time of the year. And this is going to be potentially a potential buyer, and we'll do it on the seller side too. We're going to wait until after the holidays. Now, I've heard that before. And so kind of breaking down the formula, and this is worth writing down, you guys, never assume anything. So there's a question that's begging to be asked when you hear that. Now, instinctively, and the longer you're in real estate, you'll start to develop maybe some bad habits, which means, oh, I've heard that before. I think I know what they mean. Generally speaking, that's dangerous, because you can assume, I'm going to wait until after the holidays. So always get clarity. Also, and I think this is worth writing down if you really are a student of this. If you want to know something, ask. Don't assume, seek clarity, because there's nothing. One of the sounds I really dislike a lot is when you're on a GPS mission, you have your phone tied into a destination, and you're going down the interstate and you think you missed the exit. However, then you hear the phone making that weird noise recalculating. You don't want to go down the wrong road with someone because it could basically lead to a dead end. So when you hear this one, the first thing I want you to basically start asking questions is acknowledge it, right? I understand there's a lot of ways to do that. Some people, particularly high I's and S's, are really good at that. Maybe a more direct personality like me, D, we will be a little bit soft on that. Be sure you acknowledge it. Then you want to isolate. So other than that, is there any other reason you wouldn't move forward with me today? And now they're going to say what's on their mind. Now, the question that is begging to be asked is, well, what holidays are you referring to? I'm just going to encourage you guys to, and you could ask that question. However, be very careful. When you start going into depth on one of their objections, there's a risk that you won't go back to the isolation because the conversation will start taking it down another road. And unless you're extremely well trained in it, you don't go back to the unload. Remember, unload, then unpack, get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. So you want to be able to do that. So I want to ask the question, what do you mean by holidays? However, I'm not going to start digging until I get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop. So I'm going to say, other than that, is there any other reason you wouldn't move forward buying in this market? And they might say, there could be anything. If you're unmiked or in a quiet spot, you can just pipe in here and say, what might a buyer say? What have you heard buyers say that, well, I'm going to wait until after the holidays? What would be a normal buyer's excuse not to move forward today? Anybody want to volunteer?
I've been hearing they're waiting until after the election.
Awesome. And aren't we glad that's only a week away, right?
Yes.
So I understand. Yeah, I understand a lot of people have that concern. And, it's a few days away. I get that. So other than that, what else is there anything else would keep you from moving forward today with me? And another objection might be, and this has happened a lot, well, I don't want to buy in a super hot market. Okay, I get it. Now, I trust that when you're having a conversation with someone, that the listening enhanced part of this is very, very important, that you listen to them and then you're writing that down. So so we're just spitballing here. So the holidays is one, and then election, and not in this market. So there's three. Now, it's really important. You follow the model that we're talking about on any objection. You could be a master at this in no time because there's basically a template to follow. Then, okay, any of my graduate level agents on here, if you ask the question, okay, I got that. So those three items, is there anything else that would keep you from moving forward today? Well, yeah, just finding the right house. Other than that, I'm ready to go. Okay, so now you've got basically 4 issues. These could be very realistic. Now, just because they led with, I want to wait until after the holidays, doesn't mean that's the most important. You've got 4 concerns they just raised. What is always the next question? When you get to the center of the Tootsie Roll Pop, what's the next question? This is always the case.
Asking about your holidays?
Well, now you're starting to dig. Yeah, I get that. What I would recommend, is that Jamal?
Damani.
Damani. Okay, yes. I would recommend asking, well, I understand. So of the 4 issues, which one
Is the most important.
is most important to you right now? And you ask it in a very empathetic way. And that's what I love about people who study the scripts, is they can get their emotions and the voice inflections. Well, I got that. Damani, of the 4, which one is really kind of floating to the top for you right now? And it doesn't matter which one they say. However, and it doesn't mean that's the only thing. However, now you're going to know what's important. If they happen to say, well, they're all important, knucklehead, or I wouldn't have given them to you. All right, I get that. So there must be maybe a D or a C who's got his list. You can have some fun. Well, do you want me to answer them in the order you gave them to me, or would you rather me answer those alphabetically? I mean, that would be just having a little bit of fun. I really wouldn't say that. So which one would you want me to address first? Yes, were you going to say something?
No, I agreed with you. I said, uh-huh.
Yeah. So let's say, well, look, I don't know that the market's going to change. So let's just talk about the holidays for a moment. Let's say that's the important issue. Now I'm going to say, okay, so define holiday for me. Damani, right? I got that right.
Yes.
Yeah, you're nice. You have a great voice. So just role play with me. So you're saying the holidays, but how do you define holidays?
Anywhere from Thanksgiving to Christmas. So around the end of, November to the end of the year.
Now, isn't that smart you ask that question? Because what if they were named, well, from Thanksgiving to July 4th, right?
Uh-huh.
So that would be what you would expect, however, never assume. I got it. So now do you understand why? No, you don't understand why. So let me, and this can work for a seller, which we'll do in just a second.
Okay.
Because they covered this at Bold yesterday. Cody Gibson had something really kind of cool to say. So Damani, all right, so you want to wait till after the first of the year before you buy?
Yeah.
And I understand it during the holiday season, it can be kind of crazy. What is the main reason for you wanting to delay?
Just because I do have family coming over this year. I don't really want to be caught up in the storm of the move while I'm trying to have family come visit around that time. I just don't know if I'll be able to settle into my new home, early enough.
I got that. So are you saying to me that, if the perfect house that you guys have been wanting comes up in the perfect location and maybe the seller is just motivated and you can get it for, a great price. Are you saying you don't want me to let you know about it?
I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love to know about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so really you don't want so I'm asking you now, are you really wanting to step out of the market, or you just maybe want to only consider the prime and best properties right now?
I would say I just want to consider the best properties, actually, not really step out.
I got it. And which is another form of acknowledgement, right? I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go back to something I haven't used in a while, and it's called the prescription or side effects script. So Damani, if you went to a doctor and the doctor gave you a prescription that you hadn't taken before, would you want the doctor to take a few minutes to explain maybe some of the downside of the pills before you started taking them?
Yeah, of course.
Right, good. And I'm not your doctor, however, I'm your real estate professional. So let me just give you a couple things to chew on, if that's okay. Do you think that there's buyers out there right now that are feeling like you do, and they want to step out of the market now and wait until after the holidays?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And if they do, and you were to stay in the market, would that work in your favor or work against you?
I guess it would work in my favor. Yeah.
Well, instead of like 10 buyers on every house, maybe it's down to 2 or 3. Can you see how you might be able to get one of those really nice houses at a better price now versus maybe if you wait until after January when the rush of buyers come back? Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that, actually. I see what you're saying.
Now, there's another side of it too. Now, I'm not suggesting you'd have to lay all of these things down. I'm just giving you examples of how you could help them self-discover.
Yes.
All through questions. So there's something else that I want you to understand and acknowledge. Do you think if buyers feel like they want to wait until after the holidays, do you think there's sellers that would want to wait until after the holidays too, because they're throwing up decorations, they have family coming over? Now I'm giving him the exact words he gave me, all right?
Yeah.
Keyword backtrack, I think is what they call that. So do you think there's some sellers out there that have the same feeling?
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, you know what's interesting and what works in your advantage is if a seller were to stay on the market now throughout the holidays, do you think they're serious and motivated?
Well, yeah, most definitely.
Right. And can you imagine a better environment for you to buy in, or to a better environment for which you can own a house, is to when there's fewer buyers and you have an advantage, and the sellers that are in the market are serious and motivated. Doesn't it make sense to keep a hook in the water and look for that right house?
Yeah, I can see how that would be, the most pragmatic way to go about that. I wouldn't want to, completely step out the market.
And so you can type in any comments on that. Some of the candidates, I guess, are doing these little meetings with the drive-in. You can blow your horn if you want to. I guess Biden and Obama have been doing those. So that's how I would handle that, because understand, any decision a buyer or seller makes, there is a potential consequence, or going back to the prescription, side effect for them not wanting to move forward now. All right.
I see.
Any comments, questions on that? You can chat or you can speak, whatever you want. All right.
Personally, I love the way that you begin your questions with, do you think? You can essentially turn any statement you want into a question. And I noticed how you maintain control of the whole situation by asking questions in such a way.
Yeah.
So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so thank you, Sandra. So let's do it. Let's do it now from the next slide here, potential seller. And many times, okay, so we won't go through going through the isolation. We'll just assume that basically the main reason, maybe they're on the market now, or they're getting ready to list with you, and they'll say, hey, Denny, let's just wait until after the holidays. So would anyone like to basically tackle that one?
I can try.
Sandra, how are you doing?
Great, Danny. So I'm hearing that you want to wait until after the holidays to put your house back in the market.
Yeah, we think, I think so.
Okay, and Danny, how do you define holidays?
Oh, you were listening. Well, until maybe after New Year's, after the first of the year, maybe, the first week of January or so.
Okay, so basically we are now at the beginning of November. So we are talking about having your property off the market for the next 60 days, right?
Yeah.
So Danny, if a very motivated buyer was out there today, would you consider an offer?
Whoa, that's a great question. So I'm going to blow my horn. Beep, beep. I guess right now, however, we're going to go to Costco and get our tree and decorations up. So I'm just not really cool on all these showings, and I've got company come in. I've got cousin Eddie come in, so I don't know that I want a lot of showings. If you had a buyer right now, it'd be okay.
Great. So Danny, your house is going to be decorated for the holidays. Isn't that a great way to show off, how much you enjoy your home to potential buyers?
Now I got to tell you, that's a pretty good question right there. I don't know if I would have come up with that, because, maybe I don't even decorate my house. I have a candle. Well, I guess, it's kind of inconvenient though.
I understand it can be inconvenient. So Danny, what I am seeing is that many sellers are saying the same thing, that they want to wait until after the holiday. Have you heard anyone else saying the same?
No, I haven't talked to anybody, but it makes sense to me. Other people feel the same way. Sure. Why do you ask?
Yeah, correct. And some buyers are saying the same thing. They want to wait until the holidays. So in essence, the next 60 days, we are entering into a market where we're going to see, less buyers and less sellers. And at the same time, what do you think the type of buyer that is going to be during the holiday season is? Is he a motivated buyer, or he's just, has nothing better to do than come and take a look at your home?
Well, I think I've just identified my competition here. When she's going to start her own YouTube channel on question-based listening enhanced.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
working so hard on that, Danny.
You are doing awesome. That is awesome. That is, I mean, I couldn't have done it any better myself. And so let's just see, put a bow on it here. Well, okay, so, all right, what do you suggest?
So Danny, what I am seeing is that since there's going to be less sellers in the market, and we know this is a very hot market today, and the few or the less buyers are going to be so serious, I think this is honestly a great time to sell. Why should we wait, 60 days? And either way, we can always have a contract that you're not going to have to move out before the holidays finish.
All right, so if I can critique that, that was really a statement.
I left my questions.
Yes, now let me share, that's okay, you could have asked me the question. Also, notice that was a compound sentence. There was almost like 2 or 3 different thoughts or quote questions or statements all wrapped together. And there's a rule when you play the question-based script practice. There's a rule that is you only ask one question at a time, because as you know, when you text people, if you ask a question and before they answer it, you text them again, how many answers are you going to get? Only one. So you'll keep your question simple and as short as possible. One thing I want to share with you, and that was awesome, Sandra. One thing I want to share with you that Cody Gibson was talking about yesterday on Bold. He was talking about what he called the holiday marketing plan. And it can be anything you want. So Sandra, why don't you just be the seller with me, and you have a concern during the holidays?
Sure.
So I go through the same thing. So if the perfect buyer were out there, would you want them to see, would you want them to be able to see your home? If we can make it convenient because of your guests, etc.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm glad to hear that. Well, we have what we call the holiday marketing plan. Would you like to know what that is?
Yeah, tell me more.
Now, some people, and there's no right or wrong, however, I'm modeling the question rather than going into a long statement telling them what it is. I'm chunking it up. And some people get a little bored with that, like they want to poke their eyes out with a pencil or something like that. However, I believe people's attention spans are much shorter than we'd like them to be. So rather than going into a 3-minute dissertation on what the holiday marketing plan is, I break it up by, would you like to know what that is? Yes, I would. Now I'm going to say the holiday marketing plan is this. We're going to keep your home exposed to the marketplace because the right buyer may be coming along, and you just said we don't want to miss that buyer, right?
Correct.
And we're gonna, and then whatever your plan is, for example, we're going to make sure that we're going to have set showing times, and unless there's maybe a hot buyer that needs to get in right away, so you can work around your company and your holiday activities. That way, we can make sure your home gets maximum exposure, and we always have our hook in the water in case that right buyer comes along. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
So you could rest assured that when you're basically getting out the eggnog and getting ready to put up the Christmas tree, that, there won't be any showings on that particular day. We're going to give you plenty of notice, and whatever your holiday plan is. I like the idea. There's no set, I don't know what really Cody uses. He might have gone into detail. I was too busy on the chat, although that sounds great. Same for a buyer. How would you like to be put into our holiday buying program? What is that? Would you like to know? Yes. Well, if the perfect home was out there and it was at half price, would you want to know about it? Yeah, sure. Well, if the right house comes along, just a super duper deal. I don't like the word deal, so I'm just using it right now. Super duper opportunity. We'll let you know about it. And again, some of the other conversations we just talked about. So I like that. And I picked up another cool thing I'll share with you. And it's a great question that Cody was using in Bold when they said, well, hey, listen, I already talked to an agent, or I have a family member that's an agent. And you have to be careful how you say this if they're a family member. His question was, do you have a great agent, or is it just an agent? I liked it. I wrote it down, so I'm going to put that in my repertoire. So let's go on to something else. Any comments on that before we move forward? Anything in the chat? Let's see. Okay, good. Is Al, are you out there? I don't see Al. Okay, no worries. This came in from another agent, and he had a situation. I guess it was even a post on Facebook, and it kind of lit up Facebook. Like, have you ever worked with a couple that are maybe in the process of wanting to list their home, or maybe they're buyers? And in this particular case, I think they were buyers, and they were not on the same page as far as what they wanted to do. And I'm sure you've dealt with that before. And so they said, can we talk about it? So the question is, how do you handle a situation where the buyers or sellers are not in agreement on what to do? So who else would like to role play with me just a moment? And you can be a buyer or seller, it doesn't really matter. And I'll show you how I walk through this potential landmine. And while you're getting up the courage to role play with me, I'll let you know that how many people handle divorce situations. Sometimes, you're meeting with one spouse or meeting with them separately. They have their own, one spouse wants to pick the agent, the other one wants to pick another agent. It can be kind of like a touchy situation. So who wants just to be a buyer or seller? And I'll get to that too. Really quick, give me
I'll
somebody.
be the seller.
All right, yeah, I know you're not shy. All right. So, so you're a seller, and so you, so I have to assume that basically, are you in? So you're wanting to sell your home, is that right?
Yes.
Now, how does your partner feel about that?
She isn't warm. She isn't as warm as I am to the idea of selling, simply because we have, different goals in terms of the sale of the property. I want to sell it and not have to renovate, our kitchen. And she doesn't want to sell it at all without renovating the kitchen, because she believes we won't get, the price that we're looking for. And I'm just not willing to do that. I feel like I can work out a deal with, some buyer, still getting the price that we want, maybe a shorter inspection period, something, without having to do up that kitchen.
So you're saying that basically you want to move forward because you do not want to go through the renovation. You'd just rather get something already fixed up. Am I hearing you right?
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, what are your reasons for wanting to move forward with selling your home and getting a new home?
Oh, I was looking to go upstate to Orlando
So
with me and my wife and my kids.
You're going to change locations.
Yeah.
So Sandra, I need you to be the spouse. Can you do that? Or the partner, whatever.
Hello?
Okay. So, Sandra, how I'm not from your body language, I'm sensing you're not really grooving with the idea of selling. Am I reading you right? So he wants to sell and you don't.
I'm the one that doesn't want to sell?
Yes, you.
Correct.
Okay.
So are you, how do you feel about selling this house, Sandra?
You know what, Danny? I feel that it's too early to sell. We our kids grew up in this house. I always, thought, our grandkids would see the house. So I don't see, the rush. So I would only sell if, the price really makes sense for us.
Okay. So so let me ask you, for clarity, I know that you have a lot of memories there. That's what I'm hearing you say, right?
Correct.
However, for the right dollar, you'd be willing to sell?
I would say the right dollar may not be the market price that, some realtors suggested. So I feel I'm not ready.
Okay. And so I'm going to step out of role here a moment. what I'm going to attempt to demonstrate in just a few minutes is if you have two people that are not in tandem, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go through the formula twice. Acknowledge, isolate each one, and then figure out how you're going to address them. Now, one thing I want you to make sure you understand is what is the most important ingredient when we work with buyers and sellers that makes them move forward with anything, to sell or to buy?
Emotion.
Motivation.
Yeah, yes, motivation. So is it really about selling the house? Maybe, maybe not. As I talk to Sandra, in my mind, I want to go back up, and I think you said you wanted to move to where, Orlando or somewhere, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Sandra, talk to me about how you feel about moving to Orlando.
Well, my family really is in Miami. I know it's not that far, and I know he got a great job opportunity there. So I want to be a good partner and, follow him on that.
Okay. And so how would you feel, and I'm not sure where you are now, where are you moving from?
Miami.
Oh, you're in Miami. You're both in Miami. Okay. And so you're moving to Orlando. So, okay.
Luckily, we live together, supposedly.
So talk to me. Now you're moving away from family to Orlando. It's not very far. How does that make you feel?
Hesitant, not very exciting.
So what's interesting in this role play, and it wasn't designed that way, when you start digging in motivation, now can you maybe understand why Sandra is dragging her feet on this? Because she's moving away from family. It has nothing to do with selling her house. It has to do with leaving her family.
I see.
So don't focus on selling the house, because that is only the bridge from where they are to where they want to go. And if one of them doesn't want to go there, guess what? They're going to be dragging anchor. Now, there's a job opportunity. She wants to be a good partner and move forward. So Sandra, which one do you, here's a great question. Who wants to add to this? Do you work on the one that basically is working, that wants to sell, or do you spend more time working on the one that doesn't want to sell?
I'd say the one that doesn't want to
The
sell.
one that doesn't want to sell.
I would agree with that. And for example, I would spend a little bit of time talking to the anchor dragging partner. So Sandra, let me ask, okay, and your family, it's, Orlando, Miami, it's, maybe 2.5 hours. Can you think of any advantage that you would have for your family, if you were living in Orlando? Could you think of any advantage of you living there?
Yeah, since his salary is going to be better, we can, host my family more often. And we can always go back and forth. It's not that far.
Yes, and let me ask you, do your grandkids like Disney?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Al, now I see you're on there. And so can you imagine that can you imagine yourself basically having, where you don't see them maybe every day, however, when they do come, that you might see them for like a long weekend, holiday weekends? Because I know a lot of people just can't get enough of Disney. You think that would happen?
Probably yes.
And wouldn't it be cool to build some memories? Can you just imagine building memories in the Disney World?
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, and if I attempted to do this, it's a little awkward because they're not really a couple and they're not in tandem. Get to the motivation of why they don't want to go. Because, like I said, I can't say it any better. Selling their house or not selling the house is not it. If somebody doesn't want to leave there, find out why. They don't want to leave, or they don't like where they're going. And it's kind of delicate. Same with buying. You've got to get to the motivation. You've got to handle each one of them as if you were talking to one person to make sure you unload and unpack. Al, I think you saw something online about that.
Yeah, I did. It was a situation where an agent last weekend had an experience where she was doing a showing to a couple, and one of the individuals liked the house, the other one didn't, and they got into a yelling, long drawn out argument, and she didn't know what to do, and was asking what other agents would do, and she got a lot of replies, and some of them people were being sarcastic, and other ones were sharing other experiences they had, but no one really had a true answer as far as, maybe the best way to handle it. And in her case, what she said she did is she just pretended like her phone was, she had a call and walked outside. But she said you could hear them yelling outside.
Right. Well, I think the classic thing there is, and who knows what's going on with the couple in general. However, somebody wanted to move and somebody didn't want to move, or somebody liked the house and somebody didn't like the house. So I think you handle that like that is kind of an objection. And assuming people are rational, there's some out there that aren't rational. I've had some stories. Someday, if you want to hear them, I'll tell you some of the stories that I've seen. I've never had a couple get into a shouting match on a inside of a house while I'm showing it. And sometimes I'd much rather have that happen. So they were at least verbalizing the dissent. And then you have to be delicate about going back each one of unpacking, what's really the issue here. And in some cases they have to move. They don't want to move. And you have to, and there's ways to handle that. So the bottom line is, I think that here's to put a bow on it. If you've got 2 people or 3 people making the decision, that may be 2 or 3 different, okay, other than that, what would have to happen for you to move forward today? And you'll have the same conversation with each of them and see if you can understand what's the roadblock and also their motivation. Somebody put it in the chat here real quick. Can you address how to respond if someone's objection is that they're getting over COVID? I don't see how to get over that because they're not feeling up to it, to that as a reality. Okay, so all right. Who wants to role play with me on that? Would you role play Shifra? Is that right? You want to role play?
I can try. I'm in the car, but yeah, I can try.
Are you getting over COVID? I'm just asking. That's not part of my role play. I said you're not getting over COVID, are you? Shifra?
No.
Okay. All right. So
Yes.
All right, so what do we do? Oh, man, now the acknowledgement here when someone has bad news is you don't go awesome. The acknowledgement might be something of concern. Oh, Shifra, I'm so sorry. How are you feeling?
Well, I don't feel up to. I don't have the headspace. I'm not feeling myself.
I understand. Well, I don't. I understand when you don't feel well. That's terrible. So let me ask you. Okay, so I've never had this. So other than the fact that you're not feeling well and you're getting over COVID, is there any other reason why you wouldn't be moving forward with me today? And I may not be that direct. I don't know if you're thinking about buying or selling. What are you, a buyer or seller?
Actually, this one is both. They are selling in order to buy. Yeah.
Okay. So I would say, well, other than that, is there any other thing that would keep you from moving forward? I'm laying off the clothes a little bit because I'm attempting to be a little bit more empathetic. Other than the fact you're getting over COVID, is there anything else that would prevent you from getting your home on the market?
Just the money, making sure we net enough from this market.
Gosh, yes. And by the way, there's no right or wrong answer based on what you see happening in your neighborhood. Do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you?
Oh, it's working in our favor.
Yeah, it is a seller's market. So we're finding sellers are putting more money than they thought possible. So that was the meat thermometer, you guys, it comes up all the time. And that was a perfect opportunity to have them say it out loud. It's a good time because I'm building a case here. So based on how you feel now and how you might feel in the future, how long are you wanting to put this off before we pick up the conversation about getting your home on the market?
Well, I would say a few weeks just to see how I feel.
Okay.
But in the meantime, if you have someone who's really serious, let me know. But I wouldn't want to list it on the MLS
Okay. So you
until I'm feeling 100%.
So what I'm hearing you say, you are seriously interested in taking advantage of this market so you can put more money in your pocket, right?
Right.
And you don't want it listed?
Not till I'm feeling much better.
Well, what if there were a buyer that was interested in your home? I mean, you said you don't want to list it. So I know about a buyer and it's not listed. Would I be allowed to show it to them?
Yes, if the timing works, yeah, you can show it.
So you guys, I'm going to step out of role just a little bit. I am triangulating her. I'm going to build a little bit of a mousetrap or a box, and she's going to trap herself. I get it. Well, then let me ask you this: if an associate in my office, if I come back and said, "Look, I really saw this nice house over there," and kind of pocket listing, and they had the perfect buyer for it, would it be okay if they saw it?
Yeah.
Now, what is she doing? I'm leading her into a little bit of a canyon. So it's not that it sounds to me like what you're attempting to avoid is that you're willing to show it to the right buyers that could help you put that money in your pocket. It's just that you don't want 50 people walking through your house. Would that be accurate?
That's accurate. I don't want the crowd coming in and the cleaning up, making it ready for photos, all that stuff that drains me.
Within a couple of
That was a pinball machine, had to be. So how would you feel? How would you like to have your cake and eat it too?
Sure. What do you mean by that?
Well, what if there were a way that we could control the showings where we only had the most serious people through? We don't have like herds through. And what if by doing that, you could put another $25,000 in your pocket? Would that interest you?
Yeah.
And for the extra money in your pocket, would you be willing to, spruce up your house a little bit so we can get a great photo package?
So what does that entail? Hiring someone?
Oh, well, I don't know. We have a stager, we have a photographer. I mean, you may not have to do anything. However, if you had to just straighten up a little bit and just to make it look photography ready and to put more money in your pocket, would that be a good use of your time?
Yeah, as long as I don't have to spend on a stager or do heavy duty cleaning, that can work.
No. Oh, all right. So you see, here's what I'm going to step out just a little bit. Is she really concerned about her home being listed on MLS? I'm not hearing that. That's why I said, well, if I had a buyer, could I show it? Well, that's okay. Well, if I had a friend that had a buyer and it was a good buyer, could they show it? Yeah. And I didn't ask the third question. The third question would have been, well, what if another agent across the street heard about it? If they had a qualified buyer, could they see it? And I think the answer is yes. So what's interesting here is this. I totally understand you're not feeling well now. However, if the right buyer were out there right now that was willing to pay you exactly what you wanted so you can get moved to Orlando, and it was really hassle-free for you, where they just pop in, pop out, would that be okay? Would you feel okay moving forward then?
Yes, that does. I would move forward, but that I do also have to look at houses, and I'm physically not ready. I'd like to do the shopping for houses at the same time that I'm accepting offer.
Okay, and so when you say shopping for houses, how would you normally go about shopping for houses?
Making appointments, viewing
Would you start online?
houses.
Would you start online?
Yes.
Okay. And assuming you're going to be in the same area, and if you're moving to another city, that's another thing. So if you're in the same area, so let me ask you, do you have to sell your home in order to buy a home, or can you buy a home without selling?
I need to sell in order to buy.
Okay, so then are you a buyer or a seller?
I'm both.
Well, what are you first? You're not both.
So what do you mean? I'm first a buyer?
Only if you could buy. However, you can't buy right now, can you?
Right. Got it.
So you're a seller.
Got it.
So what I hear you saying is the fact that, okay, well, you could sell, then you have nowhere to buy, and you feel a little concerned about shopping for a home. Watch this, you guys. What if the perfect home were out there and you saw it online, it's everything you wanted. It had the big tree in the backyard so you can put the tire swing on it. And you had a buyer ready, willing, able to buy your house, and you only had to go look at one home because you just loved it online. Is that something you'd feel comfortable doing?
Yeah.
Would you? I hear a question mark in that voice.
Can you repeat the question so I make sure to
Sure.
clarify?
If the perfect house were out there and you just loved it, you saw it online, would you feel comfortable just going out with, you could be in your own car and social distance and just taking a look at one home?
So yes, one home would be enough. It wouldn't overtax me.
Got it. So how would you like to have your cake and eat it too?
Okay.
I love
I like
that
that.
line because what I want you guys to make note of when you have a seller that is a buyer as well, and this is the number one objection we're hearing from agents, that the sellers are concerned about selling because they have to go and buy in the market they're in, the inventory shortage, blah, blah, blah. So you have to help them understand what they are. And that's what I did with Shifra. She is a seller because they could find that perfect house with an oak tree and the tire swing. However, they can't do a thing about it. And if someone's not feeling well, like COVID, I understand that. And it's really, you're coming from contribution when you ask, well, if the perfect buyer for your house was out there and they would give you what you need, and the perfect house was out there for you to buy, and it was hassle-free, could you make that work? And I'm not suggesting that Sephora go out if she's, contagious. She's getting over it. She's lost, maybe her energy's not back, some other things, who knows. she's asymptomatic or tested negative. So I'm not suggesting you take somebody around and spread it. However, and here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Every decision a buyer or seller makes has a potential negative consequence. I want to wait till after the holidays. All right. Is it possible that the right buyer could be out there now for your home and the right home is there? Yes, that's true. Now, will there be other buyers? Yes. Will there be other houses? Yes. However, there is a chance, though, a market could change. I haven't even laid that card yet. As they want to wait for 3 weeks or 6 weeks until after the election or until the holidays are over, well, what's the risk? The market could change. And they always run that risk. So the cake and eat it too, Sephora, would be this, is that what if we could get someone, we'll put your home on the market, and we're going to go ahead and expose it to the multiple listing service, precisely for the reason you don't want a lot of people in your home. Now that sounds backwards, you guys, but it's not. If we're looking for just the right buyer, it's kind of a needle in the haystack, which is not the best expression. Isn't our chances of finding the right buyer better when you have a larger audience? So I want a larger audience, Sephora, not to run them through your home like it's some sort of a ride at Disneyland. I want to find the right buyer for you so I can show it less. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And the fear people have is that, and their perception is that, because that's real estate. All you have an open house, you have a broker tour, you have a lasagna dinner, all this stuff that we don't do anymore. It doesn't have to be that way. And to have your cake and eat it too in this market, and I sense it's changing a little bit. I sense the temperature of the water is down a little bit. It might just be right now, it might just be this, week or two before the election. I was talking to one of my friends that I talk to often, and we were comparing notes. We're still doing awesome. We're selling a house a day. I just don't sense the number of showings are the same. So it may be temporary. Plus we're getting into the holiday months. And I think really people, if they're this close, maybe they might wait until after the election. However, just to put an end on this one, there's sellers out there that can have their cake and eat it too, because the market is that hot, inventory is that short, and that would be getting top dollar for your home today in this white hot market, and allowing the buyer, allowing you to stay there, Sephora, or have a delayed closing. I like a closing, and you can stay there or rent it back or whatever until that right house comes along. In this market, that can be done. And if you can have a seller bite on that, meaning, yeah, okay, I'll do that, then really at least that's a baby step moving forward. You have a listing then. So you have a better chance of selling a home that you have listed than you do of selling a house you do not have listed. And now we're attempting to get hand in glove to find a buyer that will allow that seller to stay there till another home becomes available. Does that make sense? So does that help you, Sephora?
Yes. Thank you so much. Yes, very insightful.
Anybody else? Free
Yeah,
for all.
Denny, I wanted to make a comment on that. One of her big objections seemed to be she hated to do cleaning. Would it maybe have helped to suggest to her that you might have a special going right now where people that list their houses this month with you, we clean their windows free?
All right, so how would you do that, Al?
Well, like I say, one of the concerns was you kept on trying to pressure her into getting down to the details of what it was that would or wouldn't work for her.
No,
She was interested in doing light cleaning.
Yeah, don't use pressure, Al. I wasn't pressuring her. Come on, you know better than that.
Okay.
So, role play with me. How would you do it? I'm Sephora right now. I just don't have the energy to clean.
Well, what we need to do is make the house as nice looking as possible. And you said you're willing to do light cleaning. One thing too that you might be interested in having us take advantage of, or for you to take advantage of, we have a special going this month where people that list with us were cleaning their windows at no charge. And for taking photos and for presentation, that would probably go a long ways and helping sell your home.
Okay, now was that a long statement or was that a question?
Well, both.
Well, how do I, all right, so a couple things. One is, there's nothing wrong with your idea. However, to stay in the format of question-based, so other than cleaning, you don't have the energy to clean, is there any other reason why, you're not too excited about getting the photographer over there?
Yeah, cleaning, I just don't have the time right now, as I mentioned earlier.
I get it. I understand you don't have the time. However, if other than that, there's no other reason why. If we could solve that problem, we're good to go. Would that be right?
I think so. Obviously, finding the right house was the other thing I mentioned.
Yeah, but we got to get the house on the market. So we're dealing with the cleaning issue. What I'm just demonstrating now is how I'd approach it from a question standpoint. Well, and if you have a special going on right now and it's legitimate, I wouldn't suggest, I probably wouldn't say that if it was, you just were making it up for her. I would be a little bit more coming from integrity. I'd say, well, if I can get that done for you, and I wouldn't, now you said windows, which it may not be windows, and she may have boxes that she needs to go in storage. Maybe she collects precious moments, right? Those little figurines. And she's got them everywhere, like a Cracker Barrel. If I could send one of my people over to help you get that ready, would that make you feel better about moving forward? And if you do have a special going on, well, we have a special. You have a special going on. Ask the question. If I can take care of that for you, are you ready to move forward? Because now you're boxing her in. Because if you go ahead and lay all that stuff out, she says, nah, I don't want to do it. However, if you say, look, if I can take care of that for you, would you move forward? If she were to say yes, now you're moving forward with it. You got to be careful on, don't lay out too much information without getting some level of commitment. Does that make sense, Al?
Yeah, it does. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't, there's a lot of directions to take the role play. I thought about, cleaning, I'll get it clean for you, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't just hop on that road. So that was a good pickup. Thank you so much for doing that. Anybody else really quick? So what I'd like you to be able to do while you think, we got.
I have it.
Go ahead.
Danny, I have my own expired listing that it's a divorced couple. Before the pandemic, showing the house it's big and it needs a lot of improvements. The minute the market shifted and we started getting activity and we got an offer, they freaked out and, they canceled the listing. They said they can't find anything to rent. And, he's pressuring her. They are divorced. So it's like a way of him to keep her, he goes, uses the house. I suggested they do the pool. They did the pool because it was looking really bad. I want to grab them back into listing it again. It's been since May or June that we put it temporary or withdrawn or now cancel.
Okay, so really quick, let me just go from what I heard you say. So they pulled it off the market. So what is the pain, you guys? What is the pain of them not being on the market? You say they're divorced, and is somebody living there free? Because if somebody's living there free, their motivation to sell isn't going to be very high.
No, reality is she lives in the property. He is not. They pay 50% each, and she has to do all the work every time there is a showing. He really doesn't want to sell apparently, and he doesn't want to buy her 50% either.
That's a very complex situation. However, I'll see if I can answer it in a minute. The question is, if the seller does not want to sell now for any reason, the pain point is, I understand, then so why? And you've got two people there. You're going to have to unload all that. Well, I don't know where I'm going to move. I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. may I bottom line it for you? Right now, sellers are putting more money in their pocket than they ever thought possible. Would you agree with that? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And we don't know until when.
Right. And my question is, it's kind of like watching somebody at the Hard Rock Casino. And every time they spin the wheel, they win. You're watching the chips start to grow. At some point in time, do you think they should take their chips off the table and cash in?
Yes.
My concern is you go one spin too many and the chips start dwindling. And when that happens, it's no longer up here. It's going to start going down. How will you feel if you wait too long? You're going to have your issues with each other regardless of the market. However, selling high is always better than selling lower. Would you not agree?
Yes.
And some of your problems will be less problems with more money in your pocket. Would you not agree? So they have to see that. And this market has a way of hypnotizing people in the fact that it's always going to go on. I'll raise my hand and say it's not. It will change. Gary Keller says the same thing. So thanks, you guys. Do you have any ahas you'd like to share? You can type them in or just shout it out. We had a good crowd today. Thank you guys from Miami. Love you guys, 351. Any last comments before we sign off? We'll see you next Wednesday.
No, I'm really learning how to be more into asking questions than making a statement. It
Yeah.
is hard. It's a challenge. It's a process.
You're doing really well, though. I'm proud of you. All right, you guys
Thank
have an awesome day.
Thanks,
You
Ted.
too.
Thanks, Denny.
Yep. Hey, Kevin.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you.
Thanks, Denny.
2 weeks, baby. Saints,
Thank
those
you.
are hot.